بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واعبد ربك حتى يأتيك اليقين وقال تعالى والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم أما بعد. Honorable brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, if you can just remind the brothers and the sisters likewise to fill the masjid from the front, as you know that it is now the holiday season, so the masjid will get full quickly, inshallah. We are now at this time in what is normally called in Western circles the silly season. They call this the silly season, the crazy season. So by their own admission, they are saying to themselves that during this period of time, وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ, in the name of Jesus, they are following the dictates and desires of their nafs and their egos. So it's all about nefarious activities and actions, be it the extra consumption. So alcohol consumption is not allowed to begin with. But during this period of time, under the name of Christianity and Jesus, they are increasing in the consumption of alcohol. Likewise, this is the period of time when the zina, adultery and fornication will multiply and triple. You will find that the hospitals during this period of time, they cannot cope with the casualties and the emergencies that are coming in. Stab wounds and drunken people. Even the temporary holding cells in the prisons also cannot cope. The silly season. And they say it so, in English, nonchalant. They're so easy about it, so cool about it. And the culture and the custom has become such that this is like an acceptable norm. And talid al-amatu rabbataha, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, when the normal becomes abnormal and the abnormal becomes normal. When you frown on the abnormal, then you are seen to be wrong. Something wrong with you. Your mentality is not right. As you know that now, today, by now all of the schools would have come to an end and closed. Many of them had closed early on already. And during the course of this week, all of the rest of the schools have closed now. Many people will be undertaking journeys and be going out. And the roads in Auckland will be slightly less pressured because people will be away on their festivities and their holidays. The silly season. Unfortunately and sadly for us as believers, we are following a Gregorian system, and a system where we don't have much influence and say on a collective and a communal level. But for our own selves and our own communities and our own homes, then we have much control on that. May Allah Ta'ala grant us tawfiq and ability of understanding. So just to give us some perspective in terms of how to conduct ourselves during this period of time, and as you know, the holiday season and the summer period for us at least is somewhat stretched out compared to other countries, maybe because we don't have that much of sunlight, Allahu Alam. These two verses of Quran I shared with you, and others as well. How do we view and how do we understand recreation and some downtime, some free time, taking a break, holidays in general? So let us look at two verses and two concepts in the deen. Salman al-Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu and Abu Darda radiallahu anhum were two brothers in Islam, mu'akhat, they were brothers in Islam. And when the mu'akhat took place amongst the Sahaba, then they became like actual brothers, like blood brothers. There was visitation, there was informality, there was eating that would take place. So they would frequent each other's homes just as you would frequent your own family. One day he goes to his brother's house and he sees him that he's in salah and he's fasting, and he sees the wife that she is not in the most presentable way that a woman should be for her husband at home. And then she says that, he asked, like, sister, what's the matter? Why? He says, no, this brother of yours, he doesn't care much about me. He's all the time on his musalla. He's fasting during the course of the day, every single day. During the course of the night, he's all the time on his tahajjud for the whole night. He has no domestic interest. So then he said, no, this is not what we have learned from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He took him to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam and said, inna li jasadika alayka haq. Your body has a right on you. Your ahl has a right on you. Your family has a right on you. So everything has a right on you, and everything has to be done in moderation. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in multiple engagements with the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, that was their life, and this is what they, so they were so on the piety spectrum of things that Nabi ﷺ had to, for their own sake, had to try to bring them down a bit. But you don't go too deep, otherwise you will be shirking on your responsibilities, you will be neglecting yourself, you'll be neglecting your family, you'll be neglecting your children, you'll be neglecting your livelihood. He would bring them down. He would curb them, say, don't do too much. Do it in moderation. Sawm Dawoodi, the ibadat of Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam. Fasted one day, he didn't fast the next day. Every alternate day he would fast. Said in Abdullah bin Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu, there's a beautiful incident with him as well, and the engagement he had with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the similar note. So on the one hand, we have this kind of teaching, and when we study the lives of Rasulullah, of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, despite their seriousness, despite their engagement in jihad and the engagement in the expeditions, etc., they too had light moments. If we have to study, we need to study the banter, the laughter, and the light-hearted moments of the Prophet ﷺ, and we'll be amazed. The banter Nabi Sallallahu had, the laughter he had, the light moments he had with his children, with his grandchildren, with his wives, with the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een. And he engaged with him on such a level, with the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. The story of Sayyidina Jabir radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the story of Nabi Sallallahu alaihi wasallam with that elderly lady. She came and asked, will I enter into Jannah? He said, no, you won't enter into Jannah. She began to cry. And he said, no. And Nabi Sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, sister, you'll become young and then you'll enter into Jannah. Always brought laugh, he always brought lightness to the moment. That was the Prophet Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the banter he experienced. Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha, the Habash were busy in their, in their practices, and they were busy in their demonstrations in the courtyard of the masjid. And Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha was excited to see that, to spectate it. So she stood behind Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, speaking with the head above his shoulder. And then until she was satisfied, he said, now you're happy? And then it's finished. So the light moments that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum had, وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Don't forget your share of this dunya as well. We are living in this world. We ought to eat from it. We ought to drink from it. We ought to earn from it. We ought to live in it. However, the difference comes about from the Western culture and the lifestyle is that they have eroded our Islamic cultures and ways, to the point that the holiday season and taking a break becomes the objective of life. So you will find that they will work for 5 days of the week just so that they can, exercise and practice. They can fulfill their passions and their desires on the weekend. That's the mark of their success. To have enough money to be able to meet the basic needs and necessities, your rentals, waters, expenses, insurances, etc. And then at the end of the week also, have a nice time. And then the best of it will be to come at the end of every holiday period and then to go out on a holiday and go out on a break. And then it's a continuous cycle that goes on and planning for the next one and the next one and the next one. So that has become the objective of the Western society and culture. ذَلِكَ مَبْلَغُهُمْ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. This is their be all and their end all. This is their collective calculation. يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. They only know what is apparent for them for the dunya. But regarding the matters of akhirah, they're in total negligence and heedlessness. The believer, on the other hand, uses these moments to take a bodily rest, to rejuvenate, to take some break and rest, to revitalize, to re-energize, and come back onto ibadat. Our ibadah never ends. It's a shift from a specific set of work and routine to a different set of routine and work. But during the entire process, our ibadah never comes to an end. So now we come to the other ayah which we have shared earlier on. وَعْبُدَ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. And Allah Ta'ala says that worship your Lord until yaqeen comes to you, and that is maut and death. Hasan al-Basri rahmatullah alayhi, in the tafsir of this ayah, he said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمْ يَجْعَلْ لِعَمَلِ الْمُؤْمِنِ أَجَلًا سِوَى دُونَ الْمَوْتِ. Allah Ta'ala has not made a limit for the amal of a believer until death. So, and this, you just came out of the month of Ramadan. It's the peak of your ibadah. Everyone is reciting Quran, everyone is so diligent, everyone is fasting. You stood up in the last 10 nights. You were searching Laylatul Qadr. You were doing your tahajjud. For many of us, myself included, the rest of the course of the year, we might be some weak and some lazy. But in the month of Ramadan, we try hard. And the minute we come out of Ramadan, we are reminded, وَعَبُدَ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ, and worship your Lord until death comes to you. There's no time limit, there's no stopping. Yesterday in the tafsir, we were discussing the Salatul Khawf, the salah which is performed when you are in the critical moment of the battlefield. Then too, we don't miss the salah. Salah you will perform when you are in journey as well. No problem. You're in journey, you're traveling, stop, perform 2 rakats, continue onwards. There's no stoppage. You can't stand, sit down. You can't sit, recline. You're lying down on the bed, you're on the hospital bed, but your head can move. You still perform your salah. There's no end. And Allah Ta'ala's, and that's the reason why Allah Ta'ala has created the heavens and the earth in that systematic format. 6 days and then the 7th day after that. Why? Allah Ta'ala, and we all know this is a basic concept for every mu'min. إذا قضى الله أمرا أن يقول له كن فيكون. Allah says kun, and it happens. It materializes, it's there. So for the creation of the heavens and the earth, Allah didn't need to put a system in place, 6 days, creating the land and then the skies, and then coming back to the land again, and then all of the creation over a period of 6 days. And then the 7th day, استوى على العرش كما يليق بشأنه. The reason why Allah Ta'ala showed that and demonstrated that is that to show us in any and everything that we do, there is a meticulous system that goes behind it. So yes, we have come to this period of time when we have now come to the end of our academic years. We have come to the end of our work year. Many companies will go on mandatory leave. This is a good thing. This is important. Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, إني لأستجم ليكون أنشط لي في الحق. He says, I have moments of recreation. Why? So that I may rejuvenate, I may revitalize, I may regain my energy so that I can then worship more and I can go strong on my ibadats. SubhanAllah. Some others would have said, some Sahaba would have said, أريح النفوس فإنها تصدأ كما يصدأ الحديد كما تصدأ الحديد. He said, give your nafs and your body some moments and some break. Sometimes we go out on a safar, we go out on a journey, we take our families out and we do some sightseeing, etc. This is important, to change the mind, to change the environment, to move away from the norm. It gives the brain some time to rest, the body some time to rest. You see greenery, you see the creation of Allah Ta'ala, you see water, all of these things are good for the body of insan, for the mind of insan, for the emotion of insan. Because the body becomes rusted, just as steel would become rusted. These things are important. But again, everything must happen within perspective and within limitations. As a believer, so we come to just a few important things. The first and the most important matter on the top of all of them is when we are conducting ourselves and passing through this phase of time, be it a month, 6, 7 weeks, whether we are local, whether we are national, whether we are abroad, is we must remember the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our deen never ever leaves us. We see this here sometimes, may Allah forgive us. The minute the person leaves the home, jumps on the plane, the deen stays behind and we become some different people. There is no concept of halal consumption, There's no concept of abstinence. There's no concept of lowering the gazes, etc. Not everybody, but we see this in general. The sisters and the brothers, it becomes like the Western society and culture is a free for all concept. Everything is okay. Chal jayega, koi baat nahi hai. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, La wara'akal kaf. Your stepping stone to piety, your very first point on the scale of piety is abstinence. Subhanallah. You want to step on the, into the scales of piety, the darajat of piety, where do you begin with? People might ask the question. The starting point is kaf, abstinence, staying away. That's the difficulty. That's the hard thing. So now, let us put it into the context of what we are going through now. The holiday period and season. The general person on the road will go, there will be semi-nudity, if not 90% nudity. The nudity has reached levels that you go to the filling station, or you go to the shops to buy a thing, and the women today are wearing their bikinis, what they would wear on the beaches and in the swimming pools, and they are coming to the shops in that fashion. It has become an acceptable norm in society today. You will go out, you will go to these beaches, and we will think to ourselves, okay, you know what, we need to go to the beach, we love the ocean, we're living on the waters. Very well and good. We need to ask ourselves, when we are going there, first of all, what do we see first? Before you see the water, you need to navigate the nudity. Is it okay for yourself? We are exposing our children to all of that nudity as well. So we are telling ourselves subconsciously, but maybe we know it, but we're also teaching our children that this is okay. This is permissible. This is halal. This is jaiz. No problem. So when our children grow desensitized from the parameters of Allah Ta'ala, then we have our own selves to blame. When we are going to the beaches, then search out. No problem, go. Look for the quiet, the remote, where there's nobody, or there's people maybe somewhere far in the distance. And you know that you are able to protect your gazes, and the gazes of your children specifically speaking. The first stepping stone to piety is abstinence. Staying away from sin. That's the hard part. Ibadat is easy. To come to the masjid and perform salah is easy. To make a dua is easy. Make a dhikr is easy. To stay away from the sin, that is the hard part. That's the difficult part. Understand that at this period of time, it's a collective sense of immodesty. There's no immodesty. There's no haya. Inna mimma adraka an-nasu min nubuwati min kalami an-nubuwati al-ula. From the very first teachings of nubuwah, which the people have found from the anbiya, is that إذا فاتك الحياة فاصنع ما شئت. When haya and modesty has left you, then do anything you want. And there's no limits now. إن لكل دين خلقا. Every deen has an identity point. Every deen, every religion has a singular most point of identity that okay, this person is a Hindu, this person is a Christian, this person is this and that. Islam, we don't believe in symbols. We don't have symbols. We don't have a rooster. We don't have this or that. What do we have? We have amal. We have action. We have ibadah. So from the identity points of Islam is haya. When you look at this carefully, you'll see that the Muslims are always on one side, and the disbeliever, regardless of the faith, is always on the other side. Why? Because the differentiating factor between us and kufr is haya. Is haya. وَإِنَّ خُلُقَ الْإِسْلَامِ وَخُلُقَ الْإِسْلَامِ الْحَيَاءِ. All of these places out you go are all bihaya, as they say, immodest, nudity. For this reason, Nabi ﷺ said, وَلْيَسَعْكَ بَيْتُكَ. By the best place for you is your house. The best place for you is your house. وَلْيَسَعْكَ بَيْتُكَ. Find your solace, your comfort, your peace in your homes. So that's the important thing we need to. Whatever we do, any activities we are going to be doing, remember, do not step on those issues which are haram, which are impermissible, which are unlawful by Allah Ta'ala, which are doubtful, when in doubt, stay out. Apply this to the laws of Allah Ta'ala. They say for the oceans, when in doubt, stay out. When in doubt, stay out. Don't do it. May Allah Ta'ala grant us tawfiq and ability of understanding. You know that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, hadith of Imam Hakim, إِذَا ظَهَرَ الزِّنَا وَالرِّبَى فِي قَرْيَةٍ فَقَدْ أَحَلُّوا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ عَذَابَ اللَّهِ. When zina and riba have become widespread in a community, they have made permissible and lawful for themselves the adab and punishment of Allah Ta'ala. And you tell me, if the physical zina is not taking place in these areas, the zina of the eyes are taking place, then there's music, the zina of the ears is taking place, the zina of the heart is taking place, and widespread zina is taking place. You might be not, the actual action might not be taking place in front of your eyes, but every other format of zina is taking place. So these are places of vice, these are places of haram, these are places of adab of Allah Ta'ala. When you pass by a place of haram, then lower your gaze and go past quickly, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. Why? For the fear that the wrath of Allah Ta'ala may befall you as well. These people, by way of their actions, the wrath of Allah Ta'ala is constantly descending upon them. Do we ask ourselves the question, do we want to be a part of that wrath of Allah Ta'ala? I don't think any believer wants to be a part of it. May Allah Ta'ala protect us. Some things that we could possibly do, I have, subhanAllah, like almost 30 things that we can take out for the holiday season to do as a family, as individuals. But a few important points. Number one is, we are entering by tomorrow, if we sight the moon, the month of Rajab. Now the season of Ramadan has started. A spiritual cleansing and a spiritual preparation needs to commence already from now. And we are entering the holiday period. We have tremendous amounts of time at our hands. Build a relationship with the Quran. Whatever relationship we have with the Quran currently, build upon that. Some of us are able to recite, mashallah, tabarakallah. Then try to recite it with perfection. If you are able to recite with perfection, go to the next level. Read the tarjuma of the Quran. Read the translation of the Quran. If you're reading the translation of the Quran, then look at the commentaries, the common commentaries of the Quran by the acceptable scholars of the Quran. So build that relation and that ta'alluq with Quran. If you are unable to recite Quran, then this is the time for us. We have that free time. Do it individually, do it collectively as a family. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Why do they not ponder on the Quran? When Allah Ta'ala said, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ, I made the Quran easy for you, bhai. We have made the Quran easy for you. Take any book from the beginning of time until the end of time and try to read it more than 2 times. If you really love a book, you read it 2 times, maybe 3 times. If you majnoon. Besides that, you can't read it. But the Quran is something, the more you read it, the more you want to read it, the more the muhabba and the love and the ishq of the Quran comes in your heart. And Allah Ta'ala said, we made the Quran easy. So you should be able to memorize some Quran as well. Why do we be weak? Don't be internally and mentally weak. We can memorize the Quran. The basic surahs of the Quran is a non-negotiable. But there are other parts of the Quran where we should endeavor to learn and memorize as every believer. The Prophet ﷺ said, it is my heart's desire that Suratul Mulk resides in every heart of every believer. Subhanallah. These are the times to do it. These are the times to do it. These are almost like these are our daily routines, like our medication that we take. So the Quran is the first. And we always say we don't have time, I'm bored, I've got nothing to do, especially with the children, because the minute you take away the devices and the boredom sets in, it's because we have not channeled ourselves and our children in the right places and energies. Another thing we can do is that talabul ilm, as seeking some knowledge. Something that Allah Ta'ala ordered Nabi Sallallahu to continue doing. وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Allah increase me in my knowledge. This is the time when, after the academic year, go through the book space, through it. Some of the parts that we have been a bit weak on, whether it's academia, whether it's Islamic knowledge, an area we can increase. You can only do this much in school or in university, but during your free time in the holidays, there's much more that we can do. Subhanallah. Take a book, recite the book, read the book, a book on tafsir, a book on seerah, the life of the Prophet ﷺ, and likewise increase in our Islamic knowledge, the history of Islam. We are depraved as a Muslim ummah because we don't know our own history. So talabul ilm is something important. Amal and work. Why should our youth be bored? And this is the time to work. This is the time to invest. This is the time to save. We want to go for Umrah. We want to go for Hajj. We want to go out. We want to enjoy some pleasures in life. Then we need to have some funds to support that. Where is this going to come from? We know that there's inflation, there's cost of living. So encourage our youth to go and look for part-time work. It diverts the mind. It gives them meaning to life. It teaches them how to budget, how to be money savvy, etc., etc. And work, amal, is a form of jihad. وَآخَرُونَ يَضْرِبُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ يَبْتَغُونَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. Working for your own self and making a halal livelihood is a form of jihad. Subhanallah. So go and work. And there's many other things. One of the things we can do, which many people love to do, is safar, travel. But when we travel, then let our travels be a means of ibrah. قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Look at how Allah Ta'ala dealt with the previous nations. Look at how Allah Ta'ala dealt with the oppressors and the tyrants of the world. Look at the creation of Allah Ta'ala. Look at the beauty in the creation of Allah. تَفَكَّرُوا فِي خَلْقِ اللَّهِ. Ponder on the splendor and the beauty of the creation of Allah. You will recognize your Lord. يَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. They are people, they are the servants of Allah Ta'ala who are constantly pondering on the creation of Allah Ta'ala, and they are realizing their purpose in life. So this will happen also through travel. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala grant us the ability and tawfiq of understanding, and grant us the realization of who we are as a Muslim ummah, as bearers of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.